to Aware. We are dedicated to communicating information that inspires your positive growth and change. Are you interested in a peaceful planet? Are you interested in optimal health? Are you living with purpose? Are you enjoying your life? We realize each person can make a difference, and our mission is to empower your awareness. The choices that you make in every moment shape your life, and we encourage you to realize that you have your own answers and to always listen to your own truth. We invite you to stay aware. Good afternoon and welcome to Aware. Hi, this is Lisa Garr. Great to be with you today. So how would you feel if someone could read all of your emotional and physical blocks in your body just by watching you walk? My guest, Johnny Seitz, can do this, and he developed these skills out of his survival skills of being an adult living with autism. He's joined me before on the show, Johnny Seitz has. He has an amazing new discovery in his practice that he wants to share with us regarding helping stroke survivors on their road to recovery. Johnny has been working specifically with Dick Clark on his road to recovery after his stroke, and the progress has been incredibly inspiring. It's the cover of an article in Stroke Connection magazine this month. And welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us again today.
Hi, Lisa. It's good to be back with you.
Now, for those people who did not hear the first time that you were on the show, I want to just kind of recap a little bit before we get into the work that you're doing with the stroke victims, stroke survivors, because that, isn't it strange how we're conditioned?
Yes.
I kept typing out the script, survivor, because it's just conditioning, isn't it?
But so often people, when they hear I have autism, they say, "Oh, you're an idiot savant." And they don't seem to feel there should be any reaction on my part to being referred to as an idiot savant.
Or an idiot. I mean,
that's the part I don't like.
Exactly.
The savant, it's not so bad.
I know. But, these terms, they do hold a lot of weight. They really do. And so it's definitely, and thank you for reframing that for me. So initially, when I was talking about me walking towards you and you could see what type of blocks I have and so forth, how did you develop that skill?
Well, if you know much about autism, you know that autistic children are very, very often withdraw from contact with other people. And when they do make contact, they have a bad habit of making the worst possible first impression. We're like little scared animals, and when we see people walking toward us, we get defensive and scared. So if I see someone walking toward me who's got a lot of tension in their shoulders, I think they're going to hit me. If I see somebody walking toward me who, whatever the physical attitude, I react like a scared little animal, and I worry about it, and I try to understand it. And over the years, I grew up with the contradiction of people saying one thing and me reading something really different in their body, and I just didn't know what to listen to. And so either I would just turn away, withdraw, and I had a wonderful way of keeping people at bay. I would just bang my head against things, but chairs, walls, and they had to really want to get to me after that. But my mom did all the right things, and I became mainstreamed, I guess, peopled. And I still have the terror, and I still have to deal with people. And I started to figure out why it was I knew what I knew when I looked at people. And often they didn't know that they were holding anger, or they didn't know that they had a big block in their throat. And the survival mechanism was figuring out where they were really coming from, and then figuring out how to address them in a way that wasn't going to get that anger poured onto me, or that tension, or that whatever it was. And lo and behold, I found out working as a personal trainer that people really wanted to know that they were holding tension and how to let go of it. They really wanted to know that the things that they did that weren't working weren't because they were bad or wrong or awful, but because of experiences that got them stuck. I use a story about a guy that decides, I'm driving from Minnesota in the Midwest to California. That's what I'm going to do. But their experiences, they keep going around in circles, freezing and running out of gas, and they don't know why. And I help them by looking at their body to see the way they do things physically and how that's a total manifestation of how their mind subconsciously works, that This guy almost hit a little girl when he pulled out of his driveway turning left, and from then on, he turns right whenever he has a choice, ergo going around in circles, but doesn't know why. He keeps running out of gas because he forgot that he got really mad at gas prices and said he wouldn't buy gas till the last possible moment. Well, we have these built-in responses to traumatic experiences that we forgot the experience.
And
we still have the response.
Absolutely. Well, the experience is no longer happening, but it is in the body.
It is in the body. And even if people who go to years of psychotherapy to talk about it, still have the body taking them back again because it's a block. It's a neural block. If you got me really mad and I wanted to hit you, and I pulled back my hand and I said, I'm not going to hit you, don't worry. But the tension is still in my arm hours later. And unless I release it, it makes my arm hurt. It makes me have trouble moving my arm. So the body just collects all the experiences of a lifetime and all the patterns, maladaptive patterns.
Now, when you see somebody's body holding on to something, can you give me an example of like what that would look like?
I can spot a throat block instantly. Someone who has unnecessary amounts of tension in their throat and in the way they hold their head. I can see when someone's grounded, not connected to the earth that they're standing on, not grounded. They don't trust the earth. I have a machine I use at my place. It's a balance board, and all it does is it wobbles when you stand on it. And people whose childhood, maybe something happened and the parents didn't lovingly support them and just said, that didn't happen. Now, stop behaving that way. They don't feel safe on the earth on which they stand. And you can see that by their connection to the earth. And all I do is show them, wait, if you try this, you have the natural resources to not only balance, but I can rock the thing violently, and they start saying, oh my God, I can. And then a magic thing happens. They start handling stuff in their life. The body teaches the mind.
Does that really? That happens?
Absolutely. The body teaches them. In fact, sitting across me right now is one of my clients I work with.
Hi.
And when the body learns a pattern of handling stress, the mind feels it can handle the stress. The example, think of a soldier. A guy 20 years ago was in the Army, and here we have a crisis, earthquake, and he's the guy who handles things. He's the guy who just takes care of business. Well, when he was in the Army, he was taught to handle stress. He was taught to stand at attention with it. He tightened his belly, tucked his toes into the earth, tucked his chin. The tightening of the belly tightens all the muscles, the multifidus, up and down the spine, and makes the mind feel safe and strong and powerful. The digging the toes in the earth makes him feel grounded and connected to the earth. So 20 years later, he's just learned physiologically how to handle it, so mentally and emotionally, he just handles stuff. I remind people of the primary systems that we're supposed to discover in childhood for handling stuff.
Wow. Well, you know what? It's just amazing to me and an honor for me to see someone like you who turns something of survival that could easily have been a lifetime of survival, learning how to live with autism and being an adult living with, and you turn this into something that's a healing for others. Now, you referenced your client sitting across from you, and for lack of this is kind of a spontaneous thing. What is your name, honey?
My name is Sybil.
Sybil, hi. Sybil drove Johnny here so that Johnny wouldn't get lost.
Which I'm good at.
And we didn't plan on having you on the air, but he mentioned that he helped your body. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. Rather than having a reactive stance to certain things that I fear, which may not even really exist, but inside me there's a fear there, I have a more balanced way to approach those things or respond rather than be reactive.
So what I did was I looked at how she handled incoming force. I picked up a 8-pound medicine ball and I threw it at her. She flinched and dropped it. And I showed her how if you tuck your elbows together, tighten up your stomach in a certain way, I could throw it as hard as I wanted and she could catch it effortlessly. So the ball became a symbol for stress. The body learned how to handle incoming objects, and suddenly she handles incoming stress.
Has this helped you in your life heal emotional trauma?
Absolutely.
In what
like
way?
No other modality I've tried, and I have tried many. Many.
And now how do you know how it's worked? How do you know that it's worked?
Relating to my daughter, relating to men, relating to anything that triggers stress response has completely changed. completely.
Wow. How long have you incorporated this technique?
A year.
Great. Good job.
Thank
I won't
you.
put you on the spot anymore. I just because we referenced and she was in the studio, I had to say pink elephant.
Pink elephant.
So now, so you help not only people with the adult autism, but all walks of life of people have come to you. Now, Johnny's a life coach, and I just think that's awesome. But you have a different definition of what a life coach is. Can you share that with our listeners?
I believe that the human body was designed with an infinite ability to handle all kinds of stress, all kinds of emotional shock, all kinds of pain. And in the normal growing up process, a child comes up against the stump of a tree he wants to push, and he finds the alignment of the body to handle it. It's called fight or flight. And now he can handle big objects or stress, or 5 kids come and attack him, and he finds that and he handles it. He comes home, Daddy, they attacked me and I won. You little brat, you tore your shirt, now my neighbors. But Daddy, don't tell me that. Daddy just sabotaged the lesson of how to align the body to handle stress. Or there are certain positions. If you were to stand up, lock your knees, and say, sit down and shut up, and then bend your knees and try it. Sit down and nothing you do with bent knees will give your voice authority. The alignment to have authority is locked knees. So you stood up to Daddy, you locked your knees, and you broke your jaw. You develop a maladaptive pattern when you're faced with something where you have to take a stand, and you do something else, and you just get into doing that something else, like turning right instead of left because that time you almost hit the little girl.
Now, locking your knees adjusts your jaw?
Locking your knees aligns the entire chi of the entire body in a primary muscle recruitment pattern that I call the take a stand. There are half a dozen of these, and if they're not incorporated throughout the whole body, they get broken at very specific places, so I know what to adjust, what to fix. If somebody does fight or flight, which is chin tucked and elbows pulled in, and it's the standing version of the Le Penseur by Rodin, and I see that it's broken at the chin is lifted, I know that you're thinking, because when you think, you tuck your head back. So I see the exact break. You're trying to think your way out of an emotional situation. Let me show you how to do this. And again, I just use physical modalities. I'll put somebody on a difficult 2-ball balance, and they master it, and I say, great, now what's going on in your life? Oh, my lover, and they fall off. When they can stay balanced while talking about their lover, they find that balance in their body and mind, and suddenly when they're with their lover, that balance is remembered, and there it is, ba-boom, in their life.
Do you have to keep going back to the 2
Nope,
balls?
one time.
I'm kidding.
How many times did you write on your hand after you burned your finger on the stove? Do not put finger.
Oh,
because the body knows truth. It's not rocket science.
that's just great. So now, how did this whole development that you've really learned? And wait, you know what? You didn't answer my question about the life coach.
Okay.
What does it mean? What is the difference for you of what a life coach is?
As a personal trainer, which is where I started this whole thing, I found that the way people did exercises was exactly how they ran the rest of their lives. And since I don't have any input on the rest of your life, I show you how to change. If you sit up, instead of sitting up, you hurl yourself. It's a pretty good guess that you're going to hurl yourself through difficult emotional situations. Once the body experiences with a little help, and I really understand the body. It's a thing about autism. We tend to be able to encapsulate really complex systems pretty effortlessly. That's why Silicon Valley is basically all Asperger's, all autistic people. And if I see a person doing a sit-up and it's not working, I can see what changes would be necessary to make it work. And then they have the experience of doing it, and they start to do it again, and it feels good, and they do it again, and they like it. And then they come back a week later and say, I had a fight with my wife, and something happened. I don't know why. And it says, I bet I know. And the body taught the mind just like it did the first time, only it taught it more efficiently or without a maladaptive pattern because of a trauma.
Now, tell me the story of how Dick Clark found his way to you.
A doctor who is a client of mine and a friend called me up one day, and actually we were walking on a beach one day, and we were at an event where surfers took autistic people out on boards and let them experience, because a lot of times we don't get to experience stuff that normal kids get to experience. We miss a lot because it's difficult, for parents with autistic children. Just keeping them fed sometimes is...
Yeah.
So he said, Johnny, I've got this man. I've done what I can for him. And at 6 months, the Medical Association basically says what you got from a stroke is all you're ever going to get back. Would you be willing to meet him? And I said, why? because I think you could help him. Why? Just meet him. So I met him, and we ended up working together. And it turns out that my autism allows me to see a neural impulse even before the stroke survivor is aware that he's sending one, or he might be sending it but no limb is moving, so he gives up. I can see the neural impulse, and I can augment the movement of the limb to the point where the neural impulse gets stronger, the belief grows, and the movement starts to become owned, controlled, known. And also I know so much about the mechanics of things like walking that normally a therapist trying to get a stroke survivor to walk might say, okay, straighten your legs, stand up. Well, if you don't press your thighs together first and tuck your chin, the synchronicity of the psoas, the adductors, and the sternocleidomastoid doesn't kick in and give you the success. So before I try to make anyone stand, I teach them to press their thighs together and tuck their pelvis. I know in advance what they're going to need, and I develop it first. And then I don't give a command, stand up, straighten your legs, walk. I give, wouldn't you like to touch that glass of water? The body figures out the mechanics. The mind doesn't have to be told, working to get control. With someone who, it's in the magazine article about Dick, that if you want someone to reach out and with delicacy touch something, bring your arm forward, zam, a big impulse, arm slams you. I say, touch my eyelid. And the control is automatically implemented so as not to poke out. And the body does the figuring. The brain doesn't have to tell what muscles to resist. The body knows.
So if you tell somebody to reach your eyelid, the body will tell them.
Pull back, walk softly, resist, carefully control it. And it's not a left brain function. It's a right brain function.
So the left brain function would be
straighten your arm.
Straighten your arm. Right. So there's a goal there, though. Your goal is to, touch my face. And the goal, the body hears the goal and goes for the goal, and there's a result.
And there's a spirit, and there's a life involved. There's a love.
There's a reward.
It's a reward. It's not... so much of stroke work is just getting people to be able to swing a leg, step onto it, swing a leg. What about dignity? What about standing proud and tall? What about finding the muscles that hold your head level, walking towards something? Most stroke survivors stare at the ground, swing a leg, and then come to the disjointed switching of the weight, then the other one. I work with a woman who hasn't been out of a wheelchair in 3.5 years, and there's so many issues of fear, of terror of falling, so many issues of just becoming institutionalized to being, I am a cripple, I grew up with it, I am an autistic retard, I am a loser, I don't belong in the society. That's what I learned, that's what I felt, that's what I believed, and it took somebody reaching out with love, saying, come here, and listen, and handling the details for me that made it safe for me to be in the world. It makes it safe for a person who survived a stroke to rejoin. And you better believe a person who's had a stroke feels like they've been cut off. They don't belong in society anymore. They're not right anymore. And most of the caretakers are supporting their strokeness,
rather than
their who-ness.
Their being and their dignity. And that's, of course, you're coming from a position of knowing and feeling that way your whole life. So you can empathize with them and provide, as you said, a safe space for them.
Somebody did it for me. And in the world of autism, my wife and I perform and lecture all over the country. And at that same event that my doctor friend talked to me, a woman came up and said, 2 years ago at a conference, you said, I'm what winning looks like, and that what the possibilities, not the limitations. I'd like you to meet my daughter who didn't talk then, and the daughter talked. Because someone gave her the courage to try to let her daughter talk rather than to support her in being an autistic, not talking person. I support stroke survivors in being who they were or who they're becoming. And sometimes it's a new person.
Now, what about people who are not stroke survivors? What about people who have sexual abuse and trauma in their body, or accidents and all of that living in the cellular memory of the body?
So many of my clients come from places of sexual abuse where the confusion, a child in remember, trying to go to a therapist to talk about these things, it didn't happen when you had words. So how is making words around it going to help unravel or heal it? I go back to the experience that the person had. I know one person that had the experience that they were sexually molested, and it was a combination of enjoying it, eroticism, anger, fear, and pain. And so now, as a grown adult, when they look to have someone to have a sexual relationship with, subconsciously look for someone who will betray them and hurt them without even knowing that they've glued the three together. Each one takes different alignments in the machinery to handle. And as the body learns the alignment for handling, then we can separate them into separate places and separate the emotions, or go back, find the position where something happened, and just cry, yell, scream, let it go. It's just neural impulses. But until that's let go, the body keeps pulling you back into that memory, back into that pain, and back into seeking to recreate the circumstances that you don't realize don't have to be glued together.
You have to provide a safe space for something like that to occur.
Safe space, that is that's it.
Excellent. No, that's very, very needed. Very needed. And especially when it comes to breaking the cycle of your life of, as you said, constantly finding somebody to re-abuse you, and then that goes on generations upon generations, and probably happened generations before you as well. I'm all about breaking patterns.
Cycles can be broken. I've seen it again and again and again, and seeing somebody put their life together like that is the greatest reward there is. Don't get no better.
My guest is Johnny Seitz, by the way, and we're talking about his life as living with autism, and how he's now helping people that are survivors of strokes and other psychological and emotional and physical trauma. Now, what about an accident? If you're in a car accident or something and you can't recreate that necessarily, how do you do that?
Well, you have to take not what happened, but what the person experienced as happening. And I'll see someone and I'll say, your father was left-handed and used to hit you. And how do you know that? It's pretty simple. I mean, last semester at the college where I teach psychologists, I at random picked a girl and I said, can I make a demonstration? She said, yeah, sure. And I said, the human body reacts in certain ways to certain stimuli. And I raised my hand like I was going to hit her, expecting her to, block. She didn't do that. And I turned stunned to the rest of the class. I said, you see what she did? And they said, yeah, she didn't do anything. I said, excuse me, miss, may I have your permission to say what I just saw? And she said, yes. You're accustomed to being hit. You braced your neck to receive a blow, made no effort to stop anyone from hitting you, and just got ready to take it. And she started crying, and she said, how did you know? I said, duh. Well, you can see these things if you know where to look. If someone rotates their head, neck, and chest to the right, and it goes smoothly, and they do it to the left, and the shoulders bunch up and turn with it, you can pretty much guess that they have in their body the experience of something bad happening. Okay, well, in a car crash, maybe the last thing you were thinking about was your dog, and the next thing you know, your chest is being crushed and you can't breathe. Well, no one says it's logical, but seeing a dog and fear of dying. My wife she works with autistic kids, and she played catch the flying Aspie, as my friend says. A young autistic boy leaped, and she grabbed him to protect him and blew one of her discs. She spent a year and a half going to doctors, really high-end people, trying to fix the crushed lumbar disc, and they couldn't do anything. Finally, she came to me, and I looked at her and I said, you have a panic loop in your upper chest that's just feeding panic to your lower back, and it's never going to release and heal until you get rid of the panic loop. 20 minutes later, she finally exhaled from the bottom of her heart.
How did you do that, though? How do you bridge that gap?
I saw the big thoracic block. I saw there was no point in doing anything for her lumbar spine. And I had her stand in a position with her feet wide and knees bent, and had her move her pelvis until she found a position that she could release the thoracic block in. And then I began tightening up the multifidus to make the spine feel stable, so that she was able to hold her chest up without all that tension that was expecting a blow, expecting something to suddenly go back and hurt in her back. And then she could begin the process of healing the lumbar disc.
No surgery, no physical therapy. Just
well, what I do, I'm a personal trainer, but it is teaching her body to defend against using rapid movements without the restrictive muscles. Just like reaching for my eyelid, you use the muscles that resist as you reach. When you rotate the spine, if you have an impingement of the disc or a weakness, tightening up the muscles along with the ones that turn it, the ones that resist it and ground it, makes it safe. The body knows what it's doing if you just give it a little help. That's all I do.
Amazing. What about post-operative? Wrongful surgeries, surgeries gone wrong, malfunctions from hospital stays?
Truthfully, that gets into experiences that I have a woman who's going in for hip replacement, and they want me to strengthen the muscles prior to the accident, the surgery, so that they're already going to be strong and ready to adapt to the replaced hip.
And that's possible?
Absolutely. You're just strengthening muscles. You just do it with you don't try and strengthen a muscle. You strengthen all the muscles so that every muscle in the body works synchronistically. And if that happens, the body has infinite resources for fixing broken stuff.
Now, you wrote a book a while ago, and I left the book at home. Actually, I was looking at it last night. A beautiful picture of you dancing on the front of the book cover. What is the name of the book again?
It's called Biotyping Beyond Body Language.
And go ahead.
It's just basically about how when I look at people, I've broken them down into how they got to their feet as a child, and I address the child that they were rather than the adult they're pretending to be. And since there are only so many muscles in the body and there's only so many ways to get to your feet, it breaks down to basically 3 ways you can get to your feet. And from that, I have an entire psychological profile and a set of rules I made for myself on how to present myself to them without getting them mad at me.
That's unsafe again. You can actually look at Johnny Seitz's website, which is biotyping.com, which was originally what his book was on, and the basis of the work that he's now transformed into doing. It's basically all the same work, but it's just taken more of a specialty recently. Biotyping, biotyping.com, and then people can, if they want to contact you via email, they could do that as well, right? And so people that come to you, it's a wide range of people, right?
They come to me because they're going through a change in life, because they've gotten just broken up with a relationship, because they've just gotten into a relationship, because they want to lose 30 pounds, because they're suffering from a traumatic experience or a physical injury.
So it's not about diet; it's about the emotional aspects behind the need to be healthy.
I had a woman that came to me. It's pretty basic. She had 30 pounds of what she called baby fat, and there was a hint there. And I asked her, what do you do? She said, aerobics every day, and I live off green vegetables, and I can't make it go away. I said, when did it come? Oh, when I was pregnant and my husband divorced me. It turns out she believed that baby fat was the thing that connected her with her child, that the love of her child subconsciously she believed would go away if the baby fat went away, so she wasn't ever going to let go of it.
Wow.
When she learned they had nothing to do with each other, then it went away instantly. I mean, within a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But we support in our body what we feel we have to because we believe, just as the abused child believes that betrayal and pain are part of eroticism, so often we believe that to be safe, I need this padding. Hey, I'll show you how to be able to handle incoming energy, and you won't need that padding anymore. And the body says, oh, good, I don't need this anymore, and it goes away.
Amazing. Amazing. You have the gift to be able to set so many people free of their...
I got set free. I owe. I should be in an institution today, and a lot of kids who were just like me, head-banging autistic children. I was a classic autistic. Are in institutions because nobody did for me, to them what people did for me.
We're going to sit here and cry now because you are so beautiful. And I thank you so much for sharing your gifts with the world and with me and in the work that you do. You're amazing. Thank you very much for joining me today.
The amazing thing is the people that come to me and the battles that they fight that I get to be witness to. It's pretty spiffy stuff.
Amazing. All right. So as I said, we're going to sit here and cry now. And I will invite people to go to your website, which is biotyping.com, biotyping.com. And next up, we're going to be talking about how these patterns are locked into your DNA and what that means to release them in terms of your finances. We're going to be speaking about the abundance gene with Margaret Ruby. We will be right back. This is Lisa Garr. You're listening to Aware on KPFK.
You're listening to The Aware Show on your independent community station, KPFK, Pacifica Radio for the world, a regular meeting of the